So yesterday we went to visit a lawyer, and it's something I've been really dreading doing, truthfully. It's one of the must-do things that I have on my list to ensure that, my assets and whatnot are handled appropriately, and my end-of-life wishes are all put together all in legal form. And, it's something we were planning on doing, but we weren't going to do it until probably in our 50s. I know it's important to do it way before then, but we just didn't feel like we had to do it right away. But unfortunately now, with my diagnosis, we had no choice. We had to go do it, which makes it even harder on me because I have to do it, because there is a real possibility that I will die within the next, few years to however long I last. I don't know how long that's going to be, but it just made it really hard. I fortunately didn't cry. I kept my cool and kept things together, but it still bothers me that I have to make these decisions, and like I have to hand over everything. Basically, Brian's going to be my healthcare proxy. He's going to be my power of attorney. That's a lot to put on him, but he knows me better than most, and he knows what I want and what I feel is appropriate for me. But I'm putting it in writing just for extra caution, to whatever happens, whoever ends up, something happens to Brian, I still need to make sure that our assets, both of our assets, are taken care of, but also my end of life wishes. So we did that. We started that process, and now it's just waiting to hear back from the lawyer and decide exactly which things we're going to do and how we're going to do them. I've already started putting together all of my end of life wishes and how I want things, like, do not resuscitate, and whether or not I want to, if I'm unable to speak for myself and I'm in dire straits as far as my health, my heart stops, I stop breathing or whatever, do I want to have them do whatever it takes to keep me alive? And at that point, my answer is no. But I'm big time wigged out over the idea of them stop feeding and giving you liquids. So I chose that. I just don't want them to use any other interventions. So it was a really hard thing. You don't think of it, but when you have to think of these things, and I understand why people have such a hard time doing these things, because it's morbid, for one, but two, it's difficult to think about your own death or the death of your loved ones. So it makes it very difficult to do. But we got through it. We're hopeful that we can get this squared away this month, so we don't have to worry about it anymore. It's just basically a bunch of forms and a bunch of signing and bunch of questions that we have to answer. We've already answered quite a few, but we still have quite a few to go, depending on which forms we choose to go with, and there's a slew of them. So we both decided that we're going to do this together and at the same time, to ensure that we're both taken care of in the event that either of us passes. My biggest fear is, because Brian and I are not married, we've been together for 22 years this coming June, and while we don't have a lot, I don't want him to have to worry about losing our home, or him having issues taking care of anything on my behalf, getting access to the money in my accounts, even though he's on my account. There's things like that you have to worry about when you pass away. They put a lot of roadblocks in your way. You have to fill out a ton of paperwork. It's just insane at the things that you have to do when someone is passing. And here in Massachusetts, which I think is very similar in almost all states, is you have to complete all these things within a certain time frame. So I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for him and myself in the event that, you know, I survive this and he ends up dying of some other cause, which I hope is not the case anytime soon for either of us. But again, one of those things that we decided to do and get taken care of now versus waiting until I am unable to speak and sign things and all that. I really want to be in charge of that 100%, so it's not on Brian to do that by himself. And it makes it more difficult because we're not married again. And there's no plans on it. We haven't been married this many years. What's the point? Seems sort of silly to me. But anyway, the next step for us, which was all supposed to be yesterday, is doing voice banking. And I'll talk a little bit about voice banking in another video. But all the things that you have to do in preparation of your final steps in life is quite challenging and overwhelming. And it definitely has been for me. But I'm nearing the end of all the things that I have to really take care of. Soon as the funeral arrangements and things of that nature. And again, I'll talk about those things later on. But thank you all.